Everybody's got a price, it's the $1 million man. Podcast in demand. Understand, everybody's got a price. $1 million man. Everybody's got a price. $1 million man. Everybody's got a pod, it's the $1 million man. Podcast in demand. Understand, everybody's got a price. $1 million man. Everybody's got a price.
What's up, everybody? It's Marcus D'Angelo, and we're back for another episode of Everybody's Got a Pod. And of course, I am joined by the WWE Hall of Famer, the legend, Ted DiBiase. Ted, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Marcus. How are you today?
Man, to use your phrase, I feel like $1 million. Doing very well, and man, we're fixing to get better because we've got a fan favorite today. Today it's our 4th edition of Ask Ted Anything, where you put it out there on your social media, and it got a big reaction. I just cannot wait to dive into some of these fantastic listener questions.
Let's do it.
All right.
Okay.
Hey, just a quick reminder, though, before we get going, this is your last shot for the giveaway that we're doing on YouTube at youtube.com/@everybody's-got-a-pod. By the time the next episode drops, it'll already be September, which means that we will have chosen a winner for this WWF Superstars signed action figure from the $1 Million Man himself.
That picture, oh my God.
That's Ted in NXT there beside it. And,
See my tonsils?
guys, it is well worth It is well worth checking it out on YouTube just to see this graphic. If you're part of our listening audience right now, just go over there and have a look. And while you're there, just subscribe, and then you're eligible and you can win. Again, it's youtube.com/@everybody's-got-a-pod. All right, man. So the first question we've got this week is Matt Pleasance, who asks, do you have any good Tatanka stories? I was 10 when he turned heel, and it broke my heart.
I can't recall anything specific. I mean, I was there when Tatanka broke in, and saw him, come into his own, and I think that's why, I don't think anybody knows, but I was like, when they told me this what they were going to do, I was very favorable of him because of how far he had come, basically. So, but I mean, any specific story concerning Tatanka, I couldn't really tell you. All I can tell you is a real good guy. He's I know he's got a son, I think, that's playing ball. I think wrestling too, and that's doing very well.
Yes,
which is, that's really cool too. And so it's another wrestler's kid who's admiring his father.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I know that his son, at least what I've seen on social media, it looks like he's achieving good things in amateur wrestling, and that seems like a good foot in the door for professional wrestling if that's what he chooses to do down the road.
Yep.
Tim Rawls is up next. Who was your favorite tag team partner? Was there anyone that you would have liked to have worked with that you never got to?
Well, I mean, of course, Mike Rotunda, IRS, and I became tag team partners, and we worked very, very, very well together. But I guess when I want to pick I mean, he would be on the list. But if you go back into my beginning, back when I was a rookie, so to speak, and still learning my trade, I got tagged up with a guy named Dick Murdoch, who, I'll be honest with you, Dick Murdoch doesn't get the credit that he should get because Dick was just unpredictable. I mean, you never knew what he was going to do or what he was going to say. And I mean, it's funny. You could be in the ring with him and I experienced this as a referee. I was in the ring with him when he and a guy named Killer Carl Cox.
Yeah,
had a big feud, and they're in the ring, and he's cutting jokes. Murdoch is, with me and with his opponent. And but outside, as far as the crowd is concerned, he's beating the hell out of Killer Carl Cox. He was just a funny guy. But I mean, in terms of a partner, well, so I partner, and again, that's that rub again. They put you with an established guy, and of course, everybody knew the history. Everybody knew that Dick Murdoch was another guy that came out of West Texas. And he tells everybody he went to West Texas State, but he never did. But he was born and raised there. His father was a wrestler, and again, my entry into Mid-South Wrestling was through Dick Murdoch. So anyway,
a lot of history.
He was one of those guys that he made it easy for me. So.
When I read that question, I was like, okay, it's going to be between two for Ted. In my head, I was like, probably either Steve Williams or Stan Hansen. But so would you say that you had better chemistry with Mike Rotunda?
Well, no, it's funny. Mike and I had good chemistry. But the gimmick, the IRS gimmick, the tax man gimmick, it was like, I don't know that there would anything that would be wild about it. And he did it very well.
Yes.
But again, going back to tag teams, when Steve Williams and I tagged up, we had a heck of a run. And again, that was Bill putting Steve with me because, Steve had basically just come out of the University of Oklahoma he played football and wrestled for OU.
He's a bad dude.
And yeah, I mean, that doesn't happen anymore. I mean, when my dad was in college, my dad played football and wrestled, and was a 3-time conference champion in wrestling. And in 1946, basically when he was in the Navy, he won the AAU National Heavyweight Wrestling title. My dad did.
Wow.
And again, Steve, Dr. Death, I mean, great guy. I mean, there's another guy who I don't think really realized how tough he was. I mean, because it's kind of like if you get in a bar fight and you can only have one guy as your partner, he and Haku, because Steve was really, he was really a great guy. There's a guy, whose life was too short.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
But gosh, what a legacy he left behind, not only in America, but overseas, football, wrestling, as you mentioned. Just a freak athlete. And actually, this transitions well into another question we've got here. PJ Garrett asks, who's the toughest man in the history of wrestling? Is it Dr. Death?
The toughest guy. That would be hard to say. I mean, I don't know that you could pick any one man and say he was the absolutely, legitimately toughest guy ever. But Haku would have to be in one of those guys because he is legitimately just tough as nails. And again, thank God he's such a nice guy. You'd hate to, for a guy his size and whatever to be like a real dickhead.
Jake has told me that he witnessed some of the stuff that Haku did, including like pulling another man's eye out, biting a guy's nose off. Were you ever present for any of that?
I wasn't present for it, but I have seen him in action. I mean, I've heard all the stories. I never got to witness it. Don't know that I really wanted to witness anybody getting their nose bit off. But
no, it sounds terrifying.
Yeah, but he was a legitimate tough guy. Dick Murdoch in his era was a legitimate tough guy. And again, where wrestling goes, I don't know. But for legitimacy, I mean, like, my dad was regarded as a great professional wrestler, but he also, like I've said, was the AAU national heavyweight champion in 1946. And then, like I said, lettered 4 years. I mean, 3 years in a row was conference champion when he was at Nebraska. Yeah,
Man, I would love to do a full episode at some point about your dad or family history or something like that, where we can do it kind of a deep dive on the entire history of everything and talk about his career a little bit. So let's definitely do that down the road, because
okay.
I'm learning about your dad. He was obviously way before my time, but as I learn about him, he's a fascinating guy. Plus, he's Paisan. I'm Italian too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They go, Ted, what's your name? Ted DiBiase. I said, now, if you were Italian, they basically all the old Italians would say he's a Biaz. They never, so is it DiBiase or is it DiBiase? I mean, it's spelled like DiBiase, but it's not pronounced that way.
It's DiBiase.
DiBiase.
It's funny. I was on YouTube and tons and tons of positive comments, and then I saw one that said, "This is the most Italian podcast ever." I sent it to my brother. It just cracked me up.
That is awesome. Well, and again, obviously, because I mean, in reality, I am not, I'm not biologically Italian, but I'm the first one that'll punch you in the nose if you call me a wop.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, that's the culture I grew up in, and my dad adopted me, and I adopted the culture.
Yeah,
I mean,
and it's
kind of like any
disrespectful to your
Italian
father.
can tell you, it's like you make spaghetti, you make pizza. Okay, anything Italian, anything Italian, most anything Italian, it's all about the sauce.
Oh, no question about
If the
it.
sauce isn't right, nothing's right. And I can still remember my mom would get this great big, I don't know how many gallons of water or whatever you could put in that thing, but the base of her spaghetti sauce was a pork roast. And I think different people use different things, but hers was a pork roast. And I think she started off with like 5 cans of tomatoes and 4 things of tomato paste. And I don't know, but I know that was on the oven all day, on the stove all day long, simmering and making it and everything. And then, so by the time you went to get that meat, I mean, it just rolled off the bone.
I'll tell you what, man.
Brother,
Sunday dinner.
That's old school. Oh God.
It had to be something special.
And the garden, they grew their own garden. Oh my gosh, their own tomatoes and all that stuff. And oh my gosh, it was just it was heaven, man.
I think the wife and I are going to be having Italian tonight. I just made that executive decision.
Well, Melanie and I found a place here called Enzo's, and it's pretty good.
The name sounds promising. That's very Italian.
Oh wow!
All right, let's get to some more listener questions. We've got Jason Petiti, another Italian, up next. What was your relationship with Mr. Perfect? Do you wish you had worked a program with him at some point?
I Kurt and I got to be good friends. We actually, I think, what's funny is we met on a trip to Japan. We were both booked by, of course, I was there with Stan Hansen a lot, but they would book a tour. There would be like 5 or 6 gaijins. Gaijin is the Japanese word for foreigner.
Mm-hmm.
There'd be 5 or 6 gaijins, on the trip, and he was one of them. Great guy. I mean, and kind of, what? What's crazy about that Mr. Perfect? I mean, he was legitimately talented. I mean, just a lot of that stuff he could really do. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But good guy.
They said that like during the vignettes that they would be shooting, like he'd have to hit like a basket or something. And he'd just hit it on the first try. They'd say hey, hit a home run. No problem. He just nails a home run the first try. Just like a great athlete.
Yeah. Yeah. He was good guy too. But another guy who wasn't here long enough.
No, definitely gone too soon. I know that also though that he was a legendary ribber. Do you happen to remember any specific ribs from
I
Mr.
don't
Perfect?
remember any specific ribs, but that is a fact. Oh, he loved to rib you. And the deal was, I tried to stay neutral, because, you don't, you definitely don't want to rib him first because whatever he comes back with as a counter rib is going to be worse. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Did
Crazy.
you ever rib anyone?
Not really. Yeah.
Like if anything, just small stuff.
Oh, nothing I can remember. Yeah.
Um, well, Martin's Wolfer is up next. Is there a superstar of your active time that you ever wanted to work with but never had the chance to, and why?
Superstar of my active time.
There's one guy that came to mind for me whenever I read this, and I'm not sure if you've worked with him or not, but I was like, has Ted ever worked with Barry Windham? I feel like you guys would have chemistry.
No, Barry and I, we never did, we never worked us crazy. I mean, because he and Mike became tag team partners together, but no, it was just never, we were never in the same territory together.
Man, that could have been a great,
Yeah.
rivalry.
But well, I'll tell you a guy that I did get to work with and I loved working with, but didn't get to work with him nearly enough, and that was Paul Orndorff.
Oh, that's a great one.
Paul was really good, and I'm trying to think where it was. It was Mid-South, and I had turned heel, and he was still a babyface. Bill came to both of us, and it was just kind of like, it's kind of like one of these things. It's time to grow up because we were both baby faces, and at the time, and so he says, I want you guys to go out and go Broadway, 1 hour draw. Ooh. Now, and we're looking at each other like, holy crap, and almost like, who's going to lead this thing? And, it ended up being it was spontaneous. We both called it. We would come up with stuff, and then he would suggest, anyway, it was so good. I mean, Vince, Bill had us work the whole territory. I mean, it's kind of like every night I was working an hour Broadway with Paul Orndorff. We got to know each other real well, but that's a guy I miss. I mean, because he was good. He was funny too. He was funny because it was really easy to rib him.
Oh, he was like gullible.
Yeah, he was really, yeah. And it's like, then you would do something or say something and then he'd look at you like, really? No, Paul, not really.
Man,
God,
what a
who did I not get to work with?
I mean, another guy that jumped out was maybe somebody like Cowboy Bob Orton. Did you ever get to work with? Oh wait, you worked with him, didn't you?
You know what? Bob and I never worked.
Oh, I'm thinking of Jake.
Yeah, by that time we were both heels, and yeah, he would be. Yeah, he would definitely be somebody on the list, But good gosh almighty.
That's a good question. We'll have to give it some more thought. We've got Loftus521 up next, who asks, was there any wrestler you were afraid to wrestle? So was there anybody who like maybe had the tendency to hurt people, or who maybe just didn't like you, who you thought might take liberties with you?
I can't think of anybody that I I pretty much got along with everybody, and it's kind of like there's this just in life. There's a lot of times there's guys that something that you don't like about them. But that's life. But I can't think of anybody that I never had a major issue. I mean, it's like with anybody, nothing, no match I ever had turned into a shoot,
It's impressive.
And wow.
In all your years in wrestling, I mean, that's I would say borderline unheard of for you to not have some kind of an issue with somebody somewhere along the way, especially where it's a sport where it's very physical and guys are throwing punches, and every once in a while a dude catches you with a nasty one, you give a receipt, and maybe then he gets butt hurt. So it's interesting that you never ended up, getting super crossways with anybody.
It just never happened. It didn't. And I don't know if that's, because I guess my trip to the top was pretty quick. I mean, if you look at it, if you look where I started in 75, and like by what 77, 78, I'm a main event guy.
Yeah.
Of course, not in New York. Working in the Amarillo territory. I mean, I did. Of course, when I went to New York the first time, I wasn't a main event guy. And I wasn't there very long. But when I came back, I mean, when Vince brought me back with the whole $1 Million Man gimmick, oh my gosh. It's like people hated me when I walked out the door.
Yep.
First time they saw me, because they'd seen all those vignettes.
And that might be part of it too, where it's like not only is your father in the business, so I think people had a lot of respect for you, but also, like you were climbing up the ladder, and a guy who's near the top of the card is probably not a dude you want to take liberties with or piss with backstage. Because not that you would, but could impact your career, especially for a guy who's lower on the card.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we've got to take a time out to talk about our sponsor, Blue Chew, and how they're giving guys like you a new lease on life with their incredible product. Want to perform with the confidence of the $1 Million Man when you're in the bedroom? You need to try Blue Chew. Guys, let's just take a minute and talk about sex. Remember the days when you were more of a push start than a pull start in the bedroom? Well, Blue Chew can help you increase your performance and regain that old confidence where it counts the most. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready when an opportunity arises. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. You want to hear the best part? It's all done online. So no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew's tablets are made right here in the US of A and prepared and shipped direct to your door in a discreet package. But as we all like to say, there will be nothing discreet about your package. Men everywhere have never been more excited to see their mail carrier arrive, because when your package has arrived, your package has arrived. Listen, I know what your next question is, because it would be my next question too. Will it actually work? Why don't you just try it for free and find out for yourself? With our deal, you can try a month's supply for free, and all you have to do is pay $5 shipping. This whole time, you and your partner may have been missing out on the best sex of your life without even knowing it. So why not just give Blue Chew a shot and find out for yourself? Guys, we know that women are attracted to confidence, and Blue Chew can help give you confidence. Don't wait any longer. Chew it and do it. Take advantage of our special deal. Again, you can try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code EGAP at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code EGAP to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring Everybody's Got a Pod. Ken Franks is up next, kind of related. What was the worst backstage fight that you ever witnessed?
Hmm. Oh man.
I could throw one out there that I know you were around for. Maybe you saw it. Were you present for the Dynamite Kid dust up with Jacques Rougeau?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, would
yeah.
that qualify as the worst you saw?
Probably.
What's your reaction? Are you trying to break it up? Were you friendly with Dynamite? How did that go?
Well, both of those guys. I mean, I got along with, but and I can't even remember. I can't even remember now what it was about.
So apparently they had been having a lot of matches together, and Dynamite and Bulldog were doing a lot of stiff ribs backstage, and these guys were the victims of some really stiff ribs from these guys, and they're getting fed up with it. Dynamite kind of challenged them on a few occasions, like, "Hey, if you want to make something of it, we can." And nothing was coming of it. And then finally, it was like one rib too far. Jacques showed up to the building with a roll of quarters in his hand and punched out Dynamite's teeth right there backstage. So yeah, I mean, from what I've heard, it was a very alarming scene.
I can't think of anybody that didn't get along with Dynamite Kid.
Really?
I mean, he was a pretty good guy. I certainly had no issues with him, and he was a ribber. But you take ribs in stride. You try to, in the business, and of course, obviously too, you could take a rib too far too. Damage somebody's property or something like that. But and I don't know, Jacques and his brother Raymond were, both, from Canada and good guys, but I don't, I didn't have, so I got along with all of those guys. That's just, I just, life's too short to get into, because I'll just say that it never happened to me. Nobody that I ever worked with, said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do a job for him, and there was nobody that I ever worked with that where I was supposed to get beat that I didn't, it's like, what, are you kidding? Because I usually, what the big picture is. That's the thing you got to remember.
Mm-hmm.
And where are you? Where do you fit into that big picture? And as long as, it was, if I was going to say anything to anybody, I would go to like Pat Patterson. Like, hey, Pat, like, are you sure you want to do that right now? Or, could we do something else? But that was very rare. And, I can't think of anybody that I ever had serious heat with, unless it's somebody I don't know who, who thinks I got, more than they got, or I don't know. It's just
Interesting. And it's like you're kind of like the model citizen when it comes to wrestling, really, because you're just, it's a job and you view it like a job. Where I think a lot of guys, they kind of get in their own head about like, oh well, this guy's getting pushed more than me, he doesn't deserve it, he shouldn't beat me here. Where you've got the right attitude, which is
let's
like,
go back to the Gimmick. I mean, it's kind of like, I thought, when I show up, and all the guys in the dressing room, I come in and from the get-go, I'm flying first class and have limousine service every day and all of that. But, there wasn't anybody that spoke that outright. Or in other words, like they were jealous of it or whatever. It was like almost everybody to a man said, hey, good for you. If I'd have gotten that break, you think I wouldn't? I mean, everybody thought, okay, if that came my way, would I take it? Of course you would.
be foolish not to. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be foolish not to. And again, so and I would never begrudge somebody else getting a break. It's kind of like now it's a different thing when it's kind of like if you saw somebody that wasn't I don't know.
Somebody who didn't respect the business getting a big break.
Well. Okay, there you go. Yeah, if there's one guy, and there is that one guy that I had an issue with was the Ultimate Warrior, because quite frankly, I think he got a break he didn't deserve.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't respect wrestling. He didn't grow up in wrestling, and he had one thing going for him: a good body. If you go back and listen to any of the interviews he did,
Yeah,
when he
making
got
sense.
through, I would look at somebody and go, "What the hell did he just say?" There's other guys that I've worked with that got a break but they're good people. They're good people, and they were appreciative of. It's kind of like, I'm going to help get you over. We're going to go out. We're going to have a match tonight, and I'm going to help make you a star.
Right.
Now, I've never said that to any guy, but I mean, basically, when I have matches with different guys, I know what was wanted, what was needed, and that was it. It's kind of like that's what this is. It's kind of like, and it's kind of like, I was on the top for a long time. I mean, I remember Bruce told me, he says, Ted, he says, you were there in terms of like the top heel for a long time.
Yes.
Most heels never were, the top guy that long. And so after you're the top guy, well, then you step down and, you're not the type guy, but now you're helping make other guys. But at the same time, it's just a matter of you're the promoter. You know who to protect and who to take care of, and how to take care of them. And like, but as a heel, you got to know how to put somebody over and not lose your heat.
And you nailed it, man. I was asked years ago. I was talking to somebody doing an interview or something like that, and somebody said, "Well, who's the greatest heel in the history of wrestling?" This is before I even knew you, and I was like, "It's Ted DiBiase," because he never changed. He was always a heel. I can't really think of many other people who came to Vince's territory and worked as a heel the entire time that they were there. Especially if they're there for more than 5 years.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, no, it's incredible, and on top the entire time, amazing. And that's actually kind of a good transition to our next question. Adam Pell asks, "How do you feel about your rating and representation in video games?" So the greatest heel of all time, Ted. Here's a look. I know you said you didn't see much of yourself in video games, so that's why I wanted to include this slide. That's you in from 2019, the WWE video game. It's an 85 overall rating out of 100.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like there's 84 guys in front of me.
No. So it's 85 out of 100.
I mean, 85%. That's
a B, dude.
Yeah.
No, it's funny. I wanted to throw that in there because
I wonder who they do those. I wonder how they find how they get to that rating. Who do they go out and ask, or do they just decide themselves? Oh, I think you're 85.
It's just the video game guys. They just come up with some arbitrary number. But what's funny is, nowadays that's kind of a thing in pro wrestling with some of the younger guys, because a lot of these guys are my age or younger. So they're like, they grew up with video games, so they're into it. And then, oh my gosh, I'm going to be on a video game. They get all excited, and then they see their rating. And a lot of the guys get really disappointed, and they'll take to Twitter and say, I shouldn't be an 80 overall or whatever. So it's just, I thought it would be fun to show you that and get your take on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, 85 is pretty high. I mean, if you take into consideration all the other guys that, are in that to be voted on. I mean, it's like, okay, I'll take it,
So Peter Allen is up next. Did you ever spend any time around Vince Russo? And if so, what did you think of him?
I knew him very casually. I mean, never spent a lot of time around him. Didn't really know him that well. Uh, I don't know if I was, at the time that he got put in the position he was put in, whether he was ready for it. Because to be put in a position where you're going to be calling shots and stuff, you got to know a lot about the business.
Mm-hmm.
And my question would be, Vince Russo, where the hell did you learn about the business?
It's a good question.
What makes you an authority on anything in wrestling? Because you never climbed in a damn ring and did anything.
Do you feel that the best bookers traditionally are, or at least guys writing creative traditionally, are the guys who were former wrestlers themselves?
Absolutely, without a doubt. Because being a wrestler, you're the one out there, and you're the one. And it's kind of like when I talk to guys, I said, you can't go out in the ring and just assume. And like you could do something in a match and it really get over great. Now you could go to the next town and you could do something similar or the same thing and maybe not get the reaction that you got the night before. And I'm serious. Every crowd is different. Now, the greater percentage of the people that you do things in front of are going to have the same reaction, but you can't count on that. I mean, it's kind of like, that's why you can't just go out and before the match, I'll say, okay, here's what we're going to do step by step by step by step. The dying art of wrestling is improv. Because way back when, the only thing I knew going into the ring was the finish. Now, if I had history with a guy, now if like say Jake and I had already had a match and whatever, and the last thing that the people saw in the ring, was me, really putting the screws to him, okay, and in a bad way. Well, then the next time I get in the ring with them, I'm not just gonna stroll out there and just get in the ring and get introduced and start the match. It's like the next time it's kind of like I get in the ring and he hits the ring on a dang dead run and chases me right out of the ring and around the ring and because of what the people saw last time.
Yes.
So I might know the beginning. Okay, here's how we're going to start, and here's how it's going to finish. But everything else is on the fly. And there aren't. I'm telling you, there's not a handful of guys today that can do that. It's a dying art.
Today, the greatest emphasis is, okay, let's put these guys together because they'll have a great match. And it's that you're right. What's missing really is that ability to tell a story and say like, well, here's what happened last week. So we should structure the match this way, where they're just going out there and doing all these spectacular things. And it's amazing. Like they're incredible athletes, but like they're not.
That's it. It's like, I like it. It's kind of like that. That's why it's so hard for me to watch today's product. Is because I watch them and it's like, okay, I might as well be watching a tumbling match.
Yep.
Because all I see is them doing high spots. It's kind of like, I've seen guys, do a deal where you get, I used to take a bump where, I would have, we call it an ass bump, where the guy picks you up. It looks like he's, dropping your rear end right on his leg. And then I would take that and then I would bounce off of that. And I knew how to hit the rope in just the right part of my body to where my legs would fly up and I would go over the top rope to the floor.
Yep.
Now, today you do that, they bounce up like nothing happened.
Right.
In turn, I would lay there and sell it. All you young wrestlers out there, learn how to sell. In other words, there's got to be a reason for a babyface to make a comeback. And unless he sells, your comeback's only going to be as good as your sell job.
If you're not selling, you're not in danger. If you're not in danger, then the audience is
Yeah,
going to disengage from it.
exactly. And that's
Yep.
what's missing today. It's just like, okay, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to impress all these people with, oh, look at all these great bumps I'm taking. They're not impressed with that. It's like, tell me a story. The story's not supposed to be what's going on out in the parking lot or what happened back in the locker room and whatever. I mean, those things can be interjected into the story, but the story that the people want to see is the damn match.
Right.
Tell me a story in the ring. Have a compelling contest in that ring that looks real. Enough said.
Let's get to a couple more and then I'll let you go, Ted. Dennis Tyson asks, any good Roddy Piper stories? Did you spend much time around Piper?
I loved Roddy Piper. He was great. Piper was great. I mean, he's another guy that I did have an opportunity to work with some, and I loved every minute of it because he got it. He knew what it was about. It's kind of like, you can have a lot of guys. You can have a lot of talented athletes. Again, take the Warrior, for example, who dedicated to building his body, and that's impressive. I mean, oh my gosh, what a great body. But when you put him in the ring, he's got to be able to do something with that great body. And unfortunately, he wasn't in the business long enough to know how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
He had to be led step by step by step, and even sometimes then, he would do just what he wanted to do, and that's why his run didn't last long, did it?
It did not.
And that's why. Is because what else can you do? When you saw one match of the Ultimate Warriors, you saw every match because he did the same shit every night.
And then you've got a guy like Piper who maybe wasn't known as a body guy, but
no, and what? Oh my gosh. Roddy and I, we tore the house down a lot, and I did have I had a good little run with him, and I loved it. You never knew, you never knew what to expect sometimes, but that was a good thing.
He was one of a kind, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next question is about a guy that they did a Dark Side of the Ring about him too, and I think he's one of a kind. It's Dr. D. David Schultz. Isaac King asks, what did you think about it when Dr. D slapped that reporter?
I never knew that guy.
Dr. D, really?
I never really knew him. By the time I got there, he was gone. And but I would say this. I mean, that would be an old school response, and I loved it. It's kind of like, you're sitting here, you want to interview me, and you're just in my face, telling me that my business is phony. And that's when he slapped the guy. Did that feel like it was fake?
The look on Dr. D's face as this conversation is going on too, it's like, I almost want to tell John Stossel, like, just shut up. Like, don't stop talking. This dude's about to get violent with you. You can just see it written on his face. And then he just keeps pushing. And I mean, hard to blame Dr. D. I know it cost him an awful lot of money and, certainly cost him probably what would have been greater fame. But man, he was protecting the business.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I mean, that goes back to the guy who's doing the interview. It's almost like, approaching a wrestler and, it's almost like, okay, wrestling is show business, and pretty much the whole world knows that. And of course, they know it now for sure. And of course, there was a time when it's kind of like if you went to a magic show today, that guy out there doesn't really have the ability to make an elephant disappear.
Right.
Or a car or whatever. But he did. And then you go, the intrigue is, how the hell did he do that? I mean, I mean, now you're, it's keeping people in that place of suspended disbelief, where
Ab-
where
absolutely.
like today, if you walk into a movie theater, you're going to a movie, but when you sit down, if the actors that are on that screen are really good at what they do, they draw you into the story they're telling, and they can make you cry, they can make you angry, they can make you laugh. I mean, that's the deal. Well, and it's the same thing with wrestling. So, John Stossel, don't come in and try and basically make us look like a bunch of dumbasses.
Yep.
Oh, it's just, you guys aren't really getting hurt. Really? How many power slams have you taken? How many backdrops have you taken? How many times have you been slammed on the mat? I'm not landing on a trampoline out there. I'm landing on yeah, it's a ring. It gets a little give. We'll come out here on the floor. I'll show you a body slam on the floor too. I've been there. I've done that.
Sure.
That one hurts a little bit more, and I'm almost 70 years old, and I've had both my knees replaced. And that was cumulative. That was high school and college football. But, like night after night after night, how many times have I, fallen to my knees or one knee or, who knows? But, I had 2 discs taken out of my neck. There's a lot of wrestlers that have had that same surgery because when you fall on your back, most of that is absorbed across the top of your shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, you keep your head tucked so you don't knock yourself out.
Yeah.
And it just becomes, habit, but boom, 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 boom. And basically what my doctor told me, he says, Teddy says it was cumulative. This doesn't happen because just one night, oh, you hit wrong. You hit night after night after night after night, how many times? 10, 20 times a night, 300 so many nights a year. And eventually it, you messed up a disc. So I had back then they would take a bone chip out of your hip.
Mm-hmm.
And that they do it artificially now, but back then they take a bone chip out of your hip and replace the disc with that bone chip and kind of fuse it to where you don't have as much movement, and then but now they use something artificial, and I'll be honest with you, the place where they took the bone chip out of my hip, that hurt more than my neck. It was like, dang.
I mean, nothing fake about the injuries that you guys suffered. So,
it was, it's kind of like, was the blood real? Oh, the blood was real. It was self-inflicted most of the time,
mm-hmm.
But there were times it's like that. One time I just saw that, it was the deal that maybe it was where I turned, or Murdoch got involved in it and everything, and but I had hit it really, really hard and bled really. I mean, they had my head all wrapped up, and then the bandage came off, and it was just every time my heart would beat, it would.
Right before you turned on JYD, you had a big bandage on your head whenever we watched it back, and it looked like your fist was wrapped up too. So maybe that was what you had seen recently with me.
Yeah.
All right, let's do one more and then we'll call it a day on Ask Ted Anything for this week. Jimmy Chris asks, Jim Ross has said that Bob Sweetan was a complete asshole to him. Did you get along with Bob?
You know what? Bob Sweetan could be a complete asshole. And I watched him work a lot, and because his style of work was very similar to my dad's. So I mean, he was a really good heel. He was really good at being a wrestler, but as far as a human being, he left a lot to desire.
Yeah, I've heard about some outside the ring incidents too, which we won't get into, but not necessarily a great guy. But even Jim, Jim had nothing positive to say about him, but he did say like but I will say the man was very good at his job.
Yeah, yeah, and I totally agree with Jim. That's as far as that goes. So
Well, we're going places here on Everybody's Got a Pod. This was an absolute blast this week, Ted. I really enjoyed it. I mean, there's still a ton of questions left over. I'm gonna roll them into the next episode. So yeah, it's please, if you guys have got more questions for future episodes, you gotta hit us up at Ted DiBiase Pod on all social media platforms, and we'll grab your questions there. Next month is September by the time our next episode comes out. So we've got a loaded month, and I cannot wait to get into more stories. Before we go, though, I want to remind you all that if you'd like to get this podcast on video with no commercials and get access to a ton of sports, entertainment, and other shows, get over to premierstreamingnetwork.com, sign up for Premiere Plus, enjoy some wrestling there, enjoy some entertainment there, and just enjoy like a premium quality experience with premierstreamingnetwork.com. If you're enjoying our show and you're listening on your podcast app, please just take a few moments to like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review because that does wonders for us and our podcast. Follow Ted on social media at MDM Ted DiBiase. Follow me on X now, not Twitter anymore. It's X. Follow me at Marcus P. D'Angelo there. And follow the show, of course, at Ted DiBiase Pod on all social media platforms. This was a blast, Ted. Thank you so much.
awesome, brother. Thank you. God bless you, man. And before I go, as usual, everybody remember that everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
We'll see you guys next time right here on Everybody's Got a Pod.